Parlays and player props are back for the NFL in week 14. You know the drill. 4 player props. We got 2 parlays today and 1 great video. But my name is Austin from Calling Our Shot. If you're new to our channel, go down below, hit that subscribe button, drop a like too. We do this video every single Saturday. Now, if you want to know my favorite spread picks for Sunday in the NFL, that video is already live. The thumbnail looks just like this one. It was just posted right before this video. Go check it out. We've been hitting those spread picks at a 60% clip this season. And also, we're already 2-0 so far in week 14. Let's not lose a single pick this weekend. All sportsbook sign-up links are in the description. This is my final time saying it. But this video is sponsored by PrizePicks because they have a free square live for you guys right now. Go take advantage. Justin Herbert, ever heard of him? All he has to do is throw 1 passing yard, and that's already 1 leg of your parlays down. PrizePicks is a great place to place your player prop parlays. I'll have my favorite PrizePicks parlay a little bit later on in this video. And of course, you get the free square, but you also, if you sign up using our code COS, you get a 100% deposit match up to $100. I'm tired of saying it. Go take advantage of it. Let's hop into my first player prop this week. All the links are in the description if you want to check out PrizePicks. Let's go to this guy, DeAndre Swift, over 25.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. Now, I'd play this up to 30.5, and I'm hopeful that Swift goes over 40 and he easily crushes all of his lines. But Swift had a really injury-plagued season. I mean, this is a guy that a lot of people really had high hopes for coming into the season, really started off hot, and then kind of had some injuries kind of plague him. But last week was the first week that the Lions kind of relinquished him a little bit. They kind of said, all right, fine, we'll start playing our best player for whatever reason. And he outsnapped his backfield mate, Jamal Williams, 39-23, and you saw him have a pretty good game. Now, the Lions kind of had been easing Swift back into action thanks to injuries, but last week we saw him play pretty well. 4 receptions on 6 targets for 49 receiving yards, nearly doubling this line. We only need 26 today. Now, Swift is going to get some rushing yards too, but I anticipate Jamal Williams being more of the rushing kind of guy, the guy that they're going to hand off the ball to. But Swift, we know how electric he is when the ball is in his hands, and we know a guy like Jared Goff, perfectly capable of dropping back, dumping it off to Swift, and hey, he can make people miss. He can take 1 catch for 28 yards and easily cash us over. Now, last year, you saw they're taking on the Minnesota Vikings. This is obviously a divisional matchup. Last year, he played against this Minnesota Vikings team. Swift had 53 receiving yards. That was with Jared Goff at QB, and the Vikings have been giving up a ton of receptions to receiving yards to opposing running backs. I mean, this is a team that's bleeding those yards to those running backs. And look at last week against the New York Jets, they give up 2 running backs to hit this over. Ty Johnson had 6 receptions for 38 receiving yards. Zonovan Knight, the legend, 5 receptions for 28 receiving yards. The week before that, Ramondre Stevenson, he had 9 receptions, 76 receiving yards. The week before that, Tony Pollard, 6 receptions, 109 receiving yards. Look, Swift should be able to take advantage. This is the Lions offense that is perfectly happy to throw it a lot, and they're not going to be really trying to stretch the field a ton against this Minnesota Vikings secondary with Harrison Smith back there. So I really do think we'll see the Lions kind of lean on a guy like DeAndre Swift. Finally gave him a good amount of reps last week. He obviously still fully healthy. Knock on wood going into this game. I think Swift has a pretty good game. We'll take his over in receiving yards. I think he has a pretty good game receiving yards wise. So give me his over 25.5 receiving yards. My first play of the day. Now let's move on to my second pick. It's an under. It's going to be Kareem Hunt, taking his under 28.5 rushing yards, minus 115 on Caesars. I'd probably play this only a couple more yards lower, probably like 25.5. But let's talk about Hunt. He's obviously the backup running back for the Cleveland Browns, and Nick Chubb obviously going to handle the large majority of the rushing attempts for this Browns offense. And I don't anticipate this game gets out of hand for the Browns, but it could. I will let you know one of my spread picks is in this game. But last week we saw a perfect recipe for Hunt to go over. I mean, they took on Houston, who has one of the worst rushing defenses in the league, and Hunt nearly doubled his line. He had 56 rushing yards, but they didn't really change his line a whole lot. I mean, they lowered it, in fact, and that was a terrific matchup and perfect game script. I mean, the Browns offense stunk, but they still were able to run the ball, and that was a good game script for a guy like Hunt to go over. But over the last 7 weeks, he's really struggled, and Hunt only averaged 24.3 rushing yards per game over the last 7, and he's only gone over in 3 of those games, gone under in 4, which is great for us. He's only averaged, 6.4 carries per game. So getting 6.4 carries, you're going to need to be pretty efficient. You don't have to have a great game, but you have to at least run the ball well. I mean, you're only getting a couple attempts per game. And you look at the games he went under. He had 12, 4, 9, 15 rushing yards. So he wasn't even getting close to this line. And look, you could look at earlier this season when they took on Cincinnati. You saw him get 11 touches, 42 rushing yards. Now, sure, he hit the over, but that was a 19-point Browns victory. I don't anticipate them winning by 19 today. And even if they do win, which might be great for one of our spread picks, I'll let you guys know. We might be on the Browns, but I just think this game is going to be closer than that. I mean, this is the guy that's only averaging 4.1 yards per carry. This is the Bengals defense that has been middle of the pack in terms of 4.4 yards per carry. That's right in the middle of the NFL. And I just don't see him getting 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 touches in this game, at least carries wise. He might get a couple receiving yards, but I just don't see him I think him getting maybe 4 to 6 rushing attempts in this game. And I don't necessarily know if that equates to him getting 30 plus rushing yards. The Bengals have a decent rush defense. They can stop the run. And Kareem Hunt, he just hasn't looked great over the last 7 weeks. So I'm going to lean his under in rushing yards. I'm going to take it under 28.5 rushing yards. I think it's low, but it's low for a reason. Nick Chubb's going to be the primary guy in this backfield. And when they're going to want to run the football, it's going to be him. And if this game does get away from him, which it could, the Bengals can put up points. They can throw the ball fast and put up points. I just think it's more of a Nick Chubb game or Deshaun Watson throwing the ball. Just don't know if they necessarily want to lean on the run a ton in this one. So give me Kareem Hunt under 28.5 rushing yards. I take it down to 25.5. Sorry, Kareem, we're taking your under. Now let's move on to another under for another running back. Christian McCaffrey taking us under 100.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Minus 115 on PointsBet. Now, playable to this to 94.5. You can maybe go a little bit lower, but let's talk about CMC because last week we took CMC's over the identical bet, and he cashed out for us in a big way. So now we're taking the under. Sorry, CMC, you made us money last week. You're going to have to make us money in a different way this week. And if you had to pick one or the other, I'd likely lean his under. It's kind of tough because I think he could go under in both rushing and receiving yards, but I'd probably lean his under in rushing yards if I had to pick one. Now, let's talk about this matchup against the Buccaneers. Look, it screams defense. The over-under's at 37.5. One of my leans is on the under in this game, and CMC has seen the Buccaneers a large amount of times. I mean, this is a guy that came from the Panthers in the same division as the Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers not only have seen CMC, he's seen them, and they kind of know what to expect. They're at least game plan for him, and I think they're going to try to take him away. Make this 49ers offense more one-dimensional. They know the 49ers. They aren't stupid. And the 49ers want to come out here and run the ball. They don't want to throw it with Brock Purdy, the guy that's Mr. Irrelevant, the last overall pick in the NFL draft. They don't want to throw it a whole lot, but I think the Buccaneers are going to sell out and stop the run and say, you know what? You're going to have to throw the ball to beat us. And so I don't think CMC gets a lot going on the ground. And then this Buccaneers defense has been so good at stopping opposing running backs from getting a lot of receiving yards. I mean, let's just dive into some running backs against them this season. I mean, sure, McCaffrey had 146 total rushing plus receiving yards last week. That's great. That was against the Dolphins. This Buccaneers defense much better. You saw them face Alvin Kamara, a great dual threat running back last week. Only 37 combined yards for him. Only 2 running backs have hit this over versus the Buccaneers this year. It was Nick Chubb and Deontay Foreman, 2 guys that are north and south runners. They both ran for over 100 rushing yards. I just don't think CMC gets the attempts that those 2 guys got. And like I said, the Buccaneers aren't stupid. They got 2 great coverage linebackers too, in Levante David and Devin White. And you've seen only 2 running backs, yes, 2 running backs have more than 25 receiving yards versus this Buccaneers defense. That was Deontay Foreman. He had a career day. And then Kenneth Walker. So they really haven't given up a lot of receiving yards to running backs. And I just don't know if CMC is going to have a big day. I mean, he's obviously seen them a couple times since 2019, played them 3 times to be exact. He's had 88, 57, and 53 rushing plus receiving yards. So he hasn't come close to this line. One of them he did get a little bit close within 10, 12 yards of it, but the other 2 he barely got half of this line. I just don't know. That was with a lot of volume. We remember the volume in Carolina. They gave it to him like 25, 30 times a game. I don't know if the 49ers are going to do that. They kind of diversify the ball. They kind of like the Mason guy behind him. I just don't know if CMC has a big day. I think the Buccaneers are smart enough to try to take away Christian McCaffrey, make someone else beat him. I'm taking us under 100.5 rushing plus receiving yards. This defense is too good to give up over 100 scrimmage yards to one guy like CMC. We'll take his under. Now, my 4th and final player prop of the day, we're going to Sunday Night Football, and we're going to Jalen Waddle, taking his over 67.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. I'd play this up to 72.5, and if you want a ladder, bring it out, because I think Waddle can certainly climb the ladder. Now, it's Sunday Night Football. The over-under is like 453.5. It should be a high-scoring game between the Chargers and the Dolphins. Not a lot of defense being played. Now, last week, just throw it out, because Mr. Jalen Waddle suffered an injury, only played 54% of the snaps against a very good San Francisco 49ers defense. Look, I don't even want to consider that game, because Waddle just didn't have it that game. But he's blocked back-to-back practices on Thursday and Friday. Doesn't even carry an injury designation into this game. And I think he's going to crush this line. I mean, in 10 games with Tua Tagovailoa this season, Waddle hit this over in 7 of those games. 6 of the games that he went over, he had 80-plus receiving yards, so crushing the line. Now, let's dissect the 3 games that he went under. Number 1, one of the games was last week. Obviously, he got injured. Well, we can't predict that. Number 2, a game that Tua got injured. Tua only threw 14 passes in that game. Can't really predict that. Number 3, again, then he ended with 66 receiving yards. So he finished 2 short of what he needed to hit this line. Like, this is going to be a high-scoring game. That was also a game that they won by 22 points that he finished 2 yards short. They didn't even have to throw it in the second half, a large majority of the game. Look, I think the Chargers are going to try their best to take away Tyreek Hill. The Chargers also might be without Derwin James. We'll see about that. But Chargers are going to try to take away Tyreek Hill as best as they can. So I think we're going to see Waddle absolutely feast. I mean, Waddle has a great connection with Tyreek, or with Tua Tagovailoa. Waddle's great. This guy that can break off a 75-yard reception on the first play of the game like Trent Sherfield did last week. So I think when both healthy, Tua and Waddle, they just have a great connection. I think this is a great play. We're taking Jalen Waddle over 67.5 receiving yards. Go get it done, Mr. Waddle. Do your dance in the end zone. Now, of course, it's my PrizePicks parlay time. PrizePicks, like I said, they sponsor the video, but just take advantage of that Herbert free square like I am doing. So if you take advantage, make sure you also sign up for PrizePicks using code COS or the link in the description, 100% deposit match. Here's my 4 legs. I've already talked about all 4 of them. Justin Herbert over 0.5 passing yards. That's the free square. I think he can get that done. What do you think? Now we have Christian McCaffrey's under, we have Kareem Hunt's under, and we have DeAndre Swift's over. 4 legs, $20. That's the max you can put on that Herbert free square. $20 wins you $200. Sign me up. That's all you need to do. Sign up for PrizePicks using code COS or the link in the description for that deposit match. Now it's time for the moneyline parlay. Now I won't lie to you guys. The moneyline parlays are kind of hard to cook up this weekend. There's a lot of weirdo games. I don't want to include that Vikings Lions game into here. So I'm going 5 legs, 5 favorites, so it's probably not hitting. But either way, I'll sprinkle on this. We got 5 legs. Here they are. We got Eagles, Titans, Chiefs, Seahawks, and Dolphins. The odds are plus 478. And let's dive into each of these ones. Eagles taking on the Giants. One of my spread picks is in this game, and I won't lie to you, it might be the Eagles. You can go check out that video after this one. I think the Eagles can get it done. Even though they're on the road, I think they can get that done against the Giants. Now the Titans, Jaguars. Titans always seem to own the Jaguars whenever they play, but I just think Derrick Henry gets back on track. He's had 2 bad games. I think he gets back on track. This Jaguars team, they're rough to watch recently, and Titans just coming off a brutal game against the Eagles. I think they bounce back and have a pretty good game here. Chiefs versus Broncos. Look, Broncos, we had the Ravens last week in the moneyline parlay. The Broncos choked that game as hard as they possibly could. Give me the Chiefs again. Now they got the Seahawks. Also, Chiefs coming off a bounce back after they lost last week to the Bengals. Seahawks versus Panthers. Seahawks, the home team. I think they can get that done. I think they might be able to cover 2. Hint, hint. That might be one of my spread picks. And then the Dolphins. That would be your final leg. If you have to hedge at the end of this one, you can with the Chargers money line, or maybe the Chargers spread for a little bit of double winner. But I think the Dolphins are the better team in this one. The Chargers have just been brutal this year, but wouldn't surprise me if the Chargers do come back here and bounce back and win. So I do think the Dolphins are the better team. Even though they're on the road, I think the Dolphins can win that game. So especially coming off a loss last week to the 49ers. So 5 legs plus 478. Sure. Sign me up. I'm all in. Now, of course, I appreciate you guys always for tuning in. My favorite spread picks video. Boom. Right there. Go check that out. You can definitely go find those videos. My 3 favorite spread picks, my 2 other leans. I've been crushing those videos. So go check it out. And a reminder just about that PrizePicks, all the links in the description. Blah, 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 blah. It's all down below in the description. Appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. I'm Austin. Signing out. See you guys on the next one. Peace out.